Thank you, David. Some of you might have noticed, seeing this building from the outside, going through the foyer, how grand the new National Opera and Ballet House really is. The next speaker has actually led to the development of this building. He is the CEO of Snøhetta and has also led projects as the new Library of Alexandria and the Ground Zero Memorial Pavilion in New York, just to mention a few. So there's no coincidence that Snøhetta was named the most innovative architectural firm, because these people, they know what they're doing. But how do they do it? To give away maybe a few secrets, Kjetil Thorsen.
Royal Highness, passionate audience, good morning. As architects, or as some people say, almost artists, we can say good morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It starts with a name, Snøhetta. Snøhetta is not the name of a person, it's the name of an idea. Once you introduce a name, it sticks with you. So whatever you do, make sure the name will be a part of what you develop and how you develop it for the future. Passion and creativity. Passion and creativity are two different things. Passion keeps you going. It will keep you up at night. It is actually what drives you forward in the way of moving things in the way you actually believe. But creativity is distinctive. What and why is it distinctive? Because it can be planned for, because you can work for it, because you can actually put efforts into it based on your passion for doing something. It needs to be as distinctive as the reindeers of Dovre, 20,000-year-old family. You need to find your own way. And when you find your own way, you become distinctive in your creative work. And you need to simplify that particular distinction in order to describe it to the people you're working with. We describe it as the cylinder model. You let a lot of individuals into a cylinder and you let them move freely. What you will see, you let some go out, but they come back in, and you will see the one going straight for the goal. Straight for the goal, not moving within the cylinder freely, he will actually miss it. So the straight line from the starting point to the goal is not the solution. You are bound to miss what you set out to do. We work only singular in the plural. 30 different nationalities working in New York and in Oslo. The singular in the plural is the pre-essence where you take care of every individual to create the collective aspects of architecture. It's the only way you can drive creativity forward. This is our organizational diagram. It's all about local and internal networking. We work after a method we call transpositioning. This method puts one specialization into the seat of another. It's more almost like an orchestra rehearsing each other's instruments. When you perform, of course, you go back to your instrument. But this is to break down all the assumptions you might have about the specialized people that you're working with. It's taking on their responsibility and portraying that in collective terms. How do we actually do that? Well, we have a group of drivers in what we call idea work. These drivers, and here I'll show you quickly 12, are the essential elements that we use as tools to move ourselves forward. These generic drivers start with zooming out, which means trying to get perspective from detail to a holistic perspective of what you're actually dealing with. Never start focusing only on the details, but move from detail to holistic thinking at the same time. Establish generative resistance. Don't believe that if you get a no, that's a bad thing. That's a good thing. If you're uncertain, that's a good thing. If you keep searching, it's a good thing. Don't think that the forces against you are not of the good. Like this project in Guatemala City, where we were offered to design something for Guatemala City, we took and decided we'll squat the sidewalks of Guatemala City and give them back to the people actually using them by introducing 300 benches done by local artists. We really believe in liberating laughter. It's one of the most important things that we're facing in our everyday work. Laughing is sustainable. Be curious. Look at the things, small or big, that you might have in your hand and see what they can do. Like here, the first test for the facade of the National Memorial Museum in New York, 9/11. It is looking at the prism. Look at how it moves reality. Look at what it does with light. Keep playing and be curious as you go forward. But even as important is rapid prototyping. How do you put into life the analog elements of working with your hands through computer technologies? Our own industrial robot in the office takes our analog ideas, puts them into the computer, and you test them, and then you move these files straight into production. No more drawings, just files being transferred from one to the other. No mistakes can be done. We've tested it already in the robot. And that actually gives, for instance, a one-to-one element like for this reindeer pavilion at Dovre, which we use to look at these reindeers that we saw before. Get physical. Every year we walk with the office from New York and Oslo up to the mountain of Snøhetta. What did Laurie Anderson say? She said, walking is preventing yourself from falling forward. Now, why is that? Because gravity puts you in a place. My grandfather said, when you walk, you have to do three things at the same time. You have to look down, to look at where you're putting your feet. You have to look forward, to know where you're going. And you have to look to the sky to dream. And if you combine these three, you're in a setting where you are really physical, using your whole body. Not only your brain, not only your stomach, not only your feet, but your whole body. Architecture is about using the whole body. Knowledge-based intuition. The keystone in the novel by Italo Calvino, describing the discussion between Kublai Khan and Marco Polo, saying, the keystone is culture of our society. If you remove it, society collapses. You can build buildings with keystones. If you remove this middle keystone, the whole building will collapse. This is Saudi Arabia. And then you wrap it, and then you move forward. And then you look at the simplest way of dealing with technologies and production lines. Be generous. How can you be generous in creative work? by sharing. You share everything you create by giving it a secondary function, which is more than its initial function. You add on. And by doing that, you allow both for collective understanding and experience, and for individual experience. Trust your presence. Only 4 places in the office that we actually really need to be trusting. It's the meeting table where we also have lunch. It's the coffee machine. It's the place where we meet with the whole office every Monday to tell about what has been going on for the last week, or who's married, or who's divorced, who had children, who's coming to visit, what lectures are going to be held, like this one, and the robot. So basically, 3 analog elements compared to 1 digital. Eat, love, and pray. Party. I'm saying this because to the extent that you actually manage to involve yourself on all levels of what you're doing, share situations that are out of the ordinary with your fellow creators. If you don't, you turn it into a job, and a job is boring. Martial art. What is martial art? Martial art is taking the forces against you and using them to solve the problem you're facing. It's taking the opponent's forces to actually go back in and have a look at what it does. Ground zero and building the building of the Memorial Pavilion is martial art. It's using the forces against you. Very end, punk production. Don't do things legally all the time. Do them illegally sometimes. Then you can become a vey-vey even in your own society. Thank you very much.